Representative of Guyana.
Mr. President, on December 9, 1947, at its 222nd meeting, the United Nations Security Council held its first meeting on Palestine. Today, so many years later, at this 10,000th meeting of the Council, 14 member states of the Council decided to definitively respond to the confirmation of famine in Gaza and to reiterate our demand for a ceasefire and for the release of all hostages held in Gaza. Guyana therefore deeply regrets the use of the veto today, which scuttled these efforts. An effort of the elected 10 members of this Council, deeply conscious of the horrific situation in Gaza and our responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security, we employed a consultative manner in the development of this resolution, with the involvement of all member states of this Council at every stage. It is on this note I extend my deepest appreciation to Ambassador Christina Larsen and the delegation of Denmark for their tireless efforts in piloting us through the drafting process towards the tabling of the draft resolution today. Mr. President, dear colleagues, the question consuming many in the international community, including many of us around this table, is what will it take to achieve consensus for the Security Council to act as one and exercise its responsibility to protect the Palestinian people? In the nearly 2 years of Israel's active military operations in Gaza, the breadth of the atrocities unleashed on the Palestinian people defies every tenet of decency, morality, and humanity. More importantly, international law, the very fabric of the international system that we built from the ruins of World War II, continues to be violated every single day, in defiance of every warning, every legal ruling, every appeal to the perpetrator of these atrocities. And all of this, Mr. President, is done with total impunity. Mr. President, the result of this impunity is the ongoing commission of genocide. Yes, genocide, the words that many did not want to use and hope we'd never have to use it. It's confirmed this week by the UN Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the OPT and Israel. Impunity has also resulted in the weaponization of starvation to the point of creating a famine in Gaza, while Israel continues to impose restrictions on the delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Displacement, destruction, disease, death, these are the squalid fruits that impunity is bearing in Gaza. And yesterday, another cycle of annexation continues to take root as the occupying power began its ground operations in Gaza City, following weeks of strikes on high-rise buildings in the city. At the least, my delegation had hoped that there will be political will on the part of each member of the Security Council to coalesce around the core concerns addressed by the draft resolution. One, securing a ceasefire as the basis for sustainable improvement in the humanitarian situation, including the reversal of famine, and two, securing the release of hostages. It is difficult, Mr. President, to raise any credible argument against Council action on these concerns, as they fall squarely within the purview of the Council's mandate for the maintenance of international peace and security. More than that, it is the decent, moral, and human thing to do. The international community has rightly looked to the Council to defend and protect the right of the Palestinian people to be free from Israel's tyranny. But again, owing to the continued exercise of the veto prerogative, this Council is constrained. Mr. President, Guyana wants this war on Palestine to end permanently, comprehensively, and justly. And we will continue to partner to this end with those who have a role in making this goal a reality. The Security Council is pivotal to this end, and Guyana urges that we keep sounding the alarm bells on Palestine and advocating for the Palestinian people until they are free. The Council has the tools to bring about decisive changes in the situation in Gaza and to prevent further escalations in the region, and we should utilize them. Sadly, once again, we could not do so today despite the political will of 14 of the 15 member states. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Guyana for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sierra Leone thanks Denmark for coordinating the process that culminated in the 10 elected members of the Security Council tabling a draft resolution. Regrettably, it was not adopted owing to the non-concurring vote of a permanent member. The initiative of the E10 arose from the grave urgency to address the devastating humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, compounded by the continued captivity of the hostages held by Hamas for over 700 days. Sierra Leone voted in favor of the draft resolution out of our conviction that as Council members, we bear a charter responsibility to rescue civilians from the scourge of war, marked by immense suffering, hunger, insecurity, and continuous loss of life. The draft resolution was clear. It demanded an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire respected by all parties, the immediate and dignified release of all hostages held in violation of international humanitarian law, and full and unimpeded humanitarian access at scale so that food, water, medicine, and fuel reach those in desperate need. Had the resolution been adopted in this historic 10,000 meeting of the Council, it would have fulfilled the Council's most urgent duty to halt the unconscionable suffering of civilians, especially children, who have borne the brunt of this war. We recall with sorrow the August briefing by Ms. Inga Ashen, CEO of Save the Children International, whose testimony of famine and malnutrition, each on the frail bodies of children, must stir our collective conscience. In Gaza today, children face hunger and disease instead of classrooms and playgrounds. Sierra Leone is gravely concerned by the continuation of the conflict, and it deepens with despair. The immediate ceasefire that would have demanded, that have been demanded, could have supported the resumed two-state solution conference, co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia. Only a just and lasting political solution can end this cycle of violence and deliver security for both Palestinians and Israelis. Mr. President, we regret that the non-adoption of this largely humanitarian resolution leaves unaddressed the urgent demand for Israel to lift all restrictions on humanitarian aid into Gaza, following confirmation of famine in Gaza governorate and its spread to other areas in recent weeks. The draft resolution also demanded an immediate ceasefire and the unconditional release of all hostages, imperatives particularly in light of the findings of the Human Rights Council Commission of Inquiry, which concluded that acts committed in Gaza by Israeli forces constitute crimes against humanity, war crimes, and underlying acts of genocide. Under the Genocide Convention, no state may turn away. The duty to prevent genocide is binding on all, and failure to act would make this Council complicit in one of the gravest crimes known to humanity. 14 members of the Council acted. This Council and the international community cannot avert their gaze when children are starved, schools destroyed, and civilians massacred. Again today, 14 of its members acted, and not for the first time. Constrained by the veto, we must continue to act to end the genocide in Gaza. Human dignity demands it. International law requires it. The International Court of Justice has clarified that under the Genocide Convention, states not only have a duty to punish genocide after it occurs, but an active duty to prevent it when there is a serious risk. The alarm was raised. This obligation requires due diligence once a state knows or should know that genocide is at risk. It must use all reasonably available means, diplomatic, political, economic or otherwise lawful, to stop it. The court in the Bosnia versus Serbia found that failure to act, despite influence over those who carried out the Srebrenica genocide, breached their obligation. This duty is owed erga omnes to the international community as a whole. The court has further underlined that complicity in genocide is prohibited. A state cannot lawfully provide aid, cover, or assistance to the perpetrators if it knows genocide is being or about to be committed. In its provisional measures in South Africa versus Israel, the ICJ reaffirmed these principles, ordering Israel to refrain from acts that could constitute genocide, to prevent and punish incitement, and to allow humanitarian relief into Gaza to avoid conditions that could destroy a protected group, the Palestinian people. These rulings remind us that there can be no neutrality or silence in the face of genocide. Mr. President, to close, let us be clear. Unlike Pontius Pilate, states cannot wash their hands of their responsibility. The blood of innocent children cries out for justice. The Council, although constrained by the veto, and the international community must not remain indifferent. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Sierra Leone for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Slovenia.
Thank you, Mr. President. We regret